Live. All right, all right, all right, all right. Pack 'em up, pack 'em in. Let me begin. I came to win. Battle me. That's a sin. I won't ever slack up. Punk, you better back up. Try and play a role and hold it. Try and play the role and the whole crew will act up. Get up, stand up. Come on, throw your hands up if you got the feeling. Jump and touch the ceiling. There it is there. Little House of Pain to start off the show this morning. It is the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host, Frank Monday, coming at you Monday through Friday on the morning grind edition of the Live Drive Jive Ticket. I hope you're doing well this 12th of October. God, we're a third of the way through, huh? More than a third of the way through. And we're approaching the 76th day of the 100-day magical challenge. So do good magic. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be, whoever you may be, and whenever you may be. Wizard, warrior, wayfarer, and wanderer alike. Welcome to the show. Jesus Christ. Seriously, bro? Come on, man. Fucking dickhead. Pulls right out in. He goes from the slow lane straight into the middle and then trying to block the fast lane when he got on the highway and not even up to speed. It's like, what kind of fucking horse shit is that? What a goofball. Anyway, you guys know the routine. The roads are filled with AI these days, asshats, and idiots. That's all right, though. You just keep rolling with the punches. Give me them yos out in Happy Land to get this show started right. Come on. Yo, yo, come on, Adrian. Yo, Adrian. I love you. That was old Sylvester Stallone in the pop cult classic Rocky. Look, this guy's trying to do the same thing, pulling straight out, doing like 20 miles an hour. Come on, guys, get with it. Ah. Get on up out the way. Biatch said, get on up out the way. I said, move your big old happy ass out my way, biatch. Because I'm coming through. And I'm moving. And I'm grooving. And I'm jamming to the tunes. There you go. It's Miss Mary Moon out in Happy Land. Welcome, one and all. Good to see you again. I guess a little window has opened up with the VPNs these last couple of days. Yesterday, I was able to live stream on the afternoon shuffle, right? My way home from work last night. And then today, once again. And as soon as I say that, it's going to cut the feed, right? That's how it seems to work. So don't mention it. Shh. Don't let YouTube know that I'm live streaming right now. Don't let the VPNers, the guys blocking the transmission, regular and routine these days. Well, I'm hoping there's a little window between now and the People's Congress, which starts, I think, next week. I think it's like the last 10 days of October. I saw your little wooden saw weighing sign. So if you guys don't know, Mary Moon is using a chainsaw to make Halloween signs and various signs for around the house. And she made one for Samhain, which is spelled Samhain, Samhein, Samhain, the harvest festival of the pagans. A lot of folks like to do the Burning Man around this time, I believe. So you build yourself a wicker man out of corn stalks and other sundry dried items from the yard and put it in the form of a scarecrow and then burn it as you burn the fields. Wow, is the moon still up? Yeah, we've got a disseminating moon right now, guys, in Taurus, I believe. Is that correct, Monday? Am I even able to be heard, Miss Mary Moon? Give me a yo if you can hear me. Is the audio working correctly on this live transmission? I just called it live because I was typing as I was driving, and normally the whole thing will come up. It'll say live drive jive. Thank you for that, yo, Miss Mary Moon. But it didn't come up because I haven't done any live streams in so long. Recently it's just been me and myself listening to podcasts on the way to work. So I've been re-listening. You may be excited to know this, if you're interested at all in magic, hermetic magic, uh, the magic of Hermes Trismegistus. I've been listening to the Hermetic Hour again, some old archived shows. So you can get the Hermetic Hour by Poke Runyon with host Poke Runyon. You can get it on Blog Spot Radio. You can get it on Apple Podcasts and Blog Talk Radio and Spotify and all the places where you get your podcasts. It's not available on YouTube. They do have a YouTube channel now. It's called the Temple of Astarte. So if you want to check out Poke's work, that's one place to start. You can see what ceremonial magic rituals look like. It's pretty cool. Lots of fun. All the accoutrements of a theatrical performance to bring down the magic, as it were. But I've been re-listening to his series on Dion Fortune's The Mystical Kabbalah, and he did a lot of shows. It seems like he did a show for every one of the Sephiroth, which are the spheres on the Tree of Life, and then he did a show for most of the pathways between the spheres. So if you're at all interested in studying the Kabbalah of Wizardry, as he calls it, and you want to get your wizard cap on and your magic wand and get out there under a star-filled sky and commune with spirit, then definitely check it out. The Hermetic Hour. It's a podcast. And definitely go over and sub Poke Runyon's channel, guys. The Temple of Astarte. Really good stuff. They just recently, him and Frater Sithmeth, did an artistic presentation and review of Lovecraft's only long story, his only novel, really, the Case of Charles Dexter Ward. So very, 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 very good. I can't praise them enough, man. They're really dialed in on what it's all about. So whether you're a patron of Canaanite gods or Sumerian gods, Phoenician gods, whatever pantheon you ascribe to, right? And it's in the Godhead's multiplicity in the material realm. Whether you're pagan Christian or Jew, you'll definitely benefit from Poke Runyon's transmission. He does it once a week on Thursdays, a weekly transmission. My transmissions up until recently have been just about daily, right? I've noticed too, Miss Mary Moon, that you've been having some regular and routine transmissions as well, which is good fun, man. I like seeing the astrology stuff, the astrotheology. Um, as you know, I'm not a very diligent astrologer, but I am slowly learning and picking up more. At a minimum, I have all my planets and signs memorized, and I know their placement on the tree of life. So I'm learning intuitively, right, at the subconscious level, how these forces interact. But I've never really overtly studied it, uh, as you know. I do like to look at people's birth charts, and I like to do tarot and tarot's placement on the tree of life. And then I'm learning how those, one of the big illusions, one of the big, one of the big things for tarot for me has always been time scale. And I was never able to figure it out until I started learning about astrology, right? And then I realized that all of the minor arcana connect to the 360 degrees in the zodiacal wheel. And so now, you know, now if I have a question about that needs a time reference, then I can look it up, but I'm also able to I've already memorized most of it anyway, so I'm able to easily pinpoint when these events will occur in time. And additionally, it gives me deeper insight into the type of characters that might be performing certain things in your life. So if you do have a tarot quandary and you'd like to know more about your future or the energies you're interacting with on a personal level, definitely send me an email, and I'm always up to do free tarot readings. Um, yeah, I'd say I'm not the greatest tarot reader in the world because I've never really used it for that. I mean, beyond a personal level, I mostly just read for myself and family members. But because it takes getting a deep connection with someone spiritually and able to be in order to be able to really do much with do much for them with the tarot. But as an individual practitioner, it really is useful for doing internal alchemy and even casting magical operations. You can use the tarot, and I honestly think that that's its original intention and purpose is for using it in magical operations and as a pig system of memory, right? Um, you'll quickly find out that if you study magic, it's really kind of learning giant filing systems of correspondence and associations, and then figuring out the interesting connections between all of those things and making predictions and operations based on all of that. All right. Wow, this is really turning into a good transmission this morning, guys. Miss Mary Moon's out there in Happy Land, and she says, just being friends. Who you being friends with, Miss Mary Moon? I watched your video about your neighbors being pagan. You said you had a well, I thought I took off my scarf there and I felt like I had taken off my seatbelt. Um, yeah, so it's getting wintry weather out here in Twilight Zone Old Peking. Frater Marlowe asked me if I'm able to use the email, and up until now, no. Without the VPN, I can't check my email. So without the VPN, I can't even check the comments on YouTube. I can't watch videos. I can't interact. So whenever that's blocked, which it has been, man, 12 days now. Today's the first or second time that it's opened up in 12 days. So that's kind of a frustrating thing, you know what I mean? This guy is just dragging his little minivan butt without any uh yeah, it's the vehicle itself. It's not his fault, right? If he was a peppy little vehicle, he'd be zipping around too. But due to the fact that he's in like an industrial minivan, there's not a lot he can do. Okay, so Miss Mary Moon says she's out in the ideas room. It's a really great crowd out there in the ideas room this morning. Miss Mary Moon and all of the spiritual entities that hang around with her are here with us this morning. She says totally different world over there with VPN to have connect to Westerners. Yeah, like honestly, prior to 2017, I never interacted much with Western social media or the internets or any of that. And so I didn't even really use a VPN. And it wasn't until I went home in 2017, I was flying home from China to LA, from Beijing to LA. It's like a 13-hour flight. And I was reading Robert Anton Wilson's book, Prometheus Rising, on my iPad. And he had made some jokes about globe earthers. He's like, folks, we have these scientists hanging off of a globe, shooting through outer space. And he's like, imagine those speeds, right? He gave all the calculations, like whatever it is, 2,000 miles an hour spinning and then shooting through space at whatever it is, 68,000, I think it's 68,000 miles per hour around the sun, right? And then 96 million miles per hour. Supposedly the sun is moving around the Milky Way galaxy. And he said, imagine those speeds in their minds, right? So he said, when you try to contemplate that, that sci-fi fantasy of all these calculations, these unerring calculations that never deviate in even the slightest manner, right? These speeds and trajectories are so absolutely fixed, right? And according to any type of earthly physics that we understand, it's just a complete impossibility for that to be occurring. And the whole time, you feel this like giant, expansive sea level plane that's 100% stable and motionless. And so he was poking fun at the globe heads. And he did it in such a subtle way that I didn't even really pick up on it. Like, I've been reading that book for 20 years and I've never really picked up on the fact that whoa, this guy's just fucking out of his goddamn mind. What a fucking ass. Anyway, yeah. So he had jibed at them in such a subtle and intelligent fashion that I never really picked up on what he was doing. But then I did, and it struck me, and I started looking at the diagrams in like Judaism of the four archangels and the firmament and the pillar of Boaz and Joaquin, like the Freemasons. And I'm like, oh, here it all is plainly written out, right? And hidden in plain sight that these guys know that it's a firmament with a celestial dome or whatever you want to call the thing above us, right? That there's some sort of sealed environment. And these guys know it. They've got it all throughout their hermetic art. And it's just all right there as an intentional blind that they put all of this stuff out there to intentionally deceive the gullible. And they try to get you to make these calculations and really buy into it, really buy into the whole sci-fi, uh, Disneyland, Freemasonic, sci-fi, NASA, space experience. And then, like, wow, these guys are just blocking the whole turning lane here. What a bunch of goofballs. Anyway, I got past them all right, so that's good. Plum Blossom Lane, everyone. We have arrived at old Plum Blossom Lane, where the wizard wanders about. Um, what's the word? How do you say provably? Tangibly, not tangibly. That's not the word I want. Certifiably insane, hobbling on his cane in clear and palpable pain. To watch him is a drain, and he's mumbling inane and driving me insane. The old wizard of Plum Blossom Lane. Yeah, so I can't read. I gotta watch. I gotta pay careful attention on this road because there are many wandering ghosts here, cemeteries and graveyards, tombstones, and even underground stuff. And then like a river runs through it. All right, and it's all wooded. Old ghosts here, they're like, hey, take it easy. Oh, there goes a dog trying to jump in front of me. You see what I'm saying? And I don't even know if that was a dog. It might have been uh, a crypto subterranean, a cryptoterran, a cryptid. He better get back into cover, man. The light's coming up, exposing him. Just some wandering random dog. That might be the wizard's dog. The old man. I know he's got a plan. Yeah, he built a wizard tower out here. There's a wizard's tower on this trail walk. I went into it one day and people had thrown a bunch of trash in there. And I was like, look at this perfectly cool little druidic tower. And the goofballs have to use it as a dumping spot for their garbage. Sometimes people really lack any kind of insider class. Uh, Not everyone, but like, I don't know. You guys know the equation. It's the theory of turds. I've got a theory of turds that a third of the people are just fucking ignoramuses. And then there's a third that are just mediocre. And then there's a third that rise above the crowd and really care about getting it done. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Guys, check me out on www.buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. Mary, you said that you opened a Buy Me a Coffee page, but you never gave us the address. So if you remember that address, put it down in the comments below or throw it in the chat. Folks, I lost all of my viewership when I took a week off. And I didn't take a week off because I wanted to. It's because my VPN's blocked, right? Nearly 2 weeks now. And I lost all viewership on videos. I had built up a viewership base of up to 30 people at a time watching my transmissions, and now it's dropped back down to 2 or 3. And today we've got a good crowd out in the ideas room. Miss Mary Moon is in attendance with all of her accompanying spirits, and especially a lot of spirits during. Hey, Russian lads here. Good to see you, sir. There are a lot of wandering spirits out around the time of Hallows Eve, and as we get closer to Candlemas as well and the Yuletide. This is when you need to be doing your pagan rituals, guys. If you have ever sought to connect with the spirits of your ancestors or nature spirits or celestial spirits of the cosmos above, and I don't recommend hanging out with the infernal spirits below, but some dig that. There's a girl here on YouTube. I forget her name, but she's a Thalemite, a Crowleyite, and she's got a good following because she talks about like summoning demons to work with demons to worship and hang out with them. And she uses the clavicle of Solomon, right? The 72 spirits of the Goetia, and she summons them in their demoniacal form and tattoos her body and has piercings. And that's popular among the young kids these days. They're looking for alternative solutions. So she's down there. She calls herself a servant of Lilith and the daughter of abominations and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's you're really barking up the wrong tree, right? Lilith and Samael and the dark forces, they're not there to help you. And if you think you're going to be able to beseech those forces for power and glory in the material realm, I think I think you're I think you're fooling yourself, honestly. But it's sexy and attractive for the LGBT community. You know, they're like, let's battle against all natural law and cut off our God-given endowments and throw them in the dirt, right? And mutate and defile the gift of our body from our ancestors and our parents, and just really go against any type of normalcy in traditional thinking and be anti-conservative and uh stab swords through our faces and stretch our ears and right, any kind of creator force, the godhead, it doesn't know how to make a beautiful human. I know how to do it. I'll stick a bone through my nose and be very tribal, tattoo my face with all types of demonic sigils, and that'll make me look cool, right? And that's really a kind of striving for decorating the tree of life that goes beyond any type of logical thinking. I mean, yeah, whatever though. I'm not going to criticize them. You do you, right? You do you and I'll do me. It's definitely not my path. I think the most abnormal thing I do is my tobacco. Me old JP Farrell's and the occasional whiskey. Yeah, according to Taoist tradition, you should never try to alter or mar the physical form because it's a gift from heaven and earth, and you don't actually have the right. People think that, hey, it's my body, I can do whatever the fuck I want, like me smoking and shit. And I've always kind of felt I've used it to connect with spirit because I'm a big time qigong practitioner, and I actually noticed Old school kung fu guys are sometimes, you know, big smokers. They enjoy the tobacco, the taste of it, and the rush of the nicotine through the brain. But yeah, according to a lot of the Taoist teaching, is that the body should be protected and preserved and not not damaged untowardly. Well, I don't know. It depends on, you know. I think I talked a little loud right there. It depends on what you're doing in life. You know, if you're in a hardcore industry like nuclear energy or something, and you're exposed to radiation, and you know, you might want to tattoo your number on your body in case, you know, so they can find you. If you're going off to war, you might want to tattoo your family name, you know, so that they can identify you if they find you in the rubble. Tattoo your dog tags on your forehead or something. I don't begrudge anybody that does tattoo the body. I mean, that's your choice. And some people find sigil magic, right? Like maybe an extremely traumatic experience or an extremely ecstatic experience that they want to commemorate by way of a tattoo. I don't think it's horribly wrong. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to get into that. My opinion doesn't matter. What does it matter what I fucking think? I was listening to Esoterica the other day. He's an occult researcher, and he does a lot of the historicity of the occult manuscripts that have come down to us from antiquity. And they call him Dr. Justin Sledge, which, as a PhD in theology, you're not supposed to call yourself doctor. And if you're in academia, you know that you're only supposed to call yourself doctor in common parlance if you're an MD. So that's a little bit of hubris on his part, but and he should know that, right? Like, I'm a PhD guy and I don't call myself doctor. My brother's also a PhD, but he's actually one in medicine. So he has a right to call himself doctor. You know, we both spent an equivalent amount of time at university. He spent 12 to 14 years, including internship, studying surgery and medicine and stuff like that. Um, but I spent I've spent my entire life at school, but I spent 12 years as well working towards my degrees, which I don't even care to mention because it's not important. I don't feel like that's the foundation of dissertation. I think that, like Eric Dubay, I don't know that he has any advanced degrees, but look at the work he does and the research he does. It's some of the most groundbreaking and important research we have available on the internet today for really waking up. You know what I'm saying? I'm hiding here under the willow trees. Don't drink the potion. What are you talking about, Russian lad? Let me see. I'm missing here. Drink the heart attack juice. What is that? What is heart attack? Had a heart attack a month ago. Wow. You had a heart attack, Mary? That's bananas. 300 drinks a day. Damn. Oh, energy drinks or heart attack juice. Yeah, I don't know. I never enjoyed the taste, and I always felt like my uncle. I have an uncle who takes the like 5 hour energy or 8 hour energy drinks. They're like pure shots of caffeine or something. I don't know what they are, but he would drink those, and he's like, "You want to have one?" Because we were gonna drive all day, and we had to go to Hollywood and stuff. And um, yeah, you're right. Oh, reel to reel. So you watch Esoterica too? Yeah. Don't tell, don't tell Justin that I was talking shit about him. The reason I was talking about Justin, I want to finish that story real quick before I start addressing the ideas room, is because he said that in his opinion there was no God, that he didn't believe in God, and he wasn't spiritually inclined. And from what I could gather, that he doesn't believe anything unseen. I guess he hasn't had any proof or any contact with spirit or source, and he considers himself, I guess, to be pretty much an atheist, a scientific materialist atheist. And I thought, wow, I thought, who cares, right? You're doing historical research on occult literature, and it's like, why does your opinion about that kind of thing even matter? Why is it worthy of mention? Um, and I find it bafflingly, bafflingly interesting that the eggheads, the members of the intelligentsia like myself that have achieved higher level degrees, that most of them consider it a very high level of intellectual refinement to deny any God source, right? And to presume upon the intellectual brilliance and hubris that the human mind, ultimately, in its limited capacity for ideation, has the capability to fathom whether or not there's source like the Ain So 4 and these forms of entropy, when at a minimum we know that our tools like our microscopes and our electronomagnetic microscopes and hadron colliders and all of these are just producing data points, that it's up to our minds individually, no matter how advanced the tools are, it's still the individual humans involved that have to process the data. And at the end of the day, it's basically flipping coins. And so they really haven't thought it through. It's like just at face level, knee jerk reaction. They say, oh, we're smarter than that, right? Our ancestors were foolish, delusional people. And it's like, oh, is that a fact? Then why is it that from ancient antiquity, we have megalithic structures that we don't even understand today, and that there's evidence that they had advanced technologies that we can't even fathom? They could move stones easily, it seems, obviously easily, that we have no no methods with all of our technology today. And it's like, you don't admit the mystery, you don't admit our human limitations, and it's just such a high level of hubris to think that way, and then at the same time to consider that to be intelligent. And I'm like, it's like you really haven't thought it through, is what it is. If you can't see the intelligent design all around you and absolutely embrace the mystery of the thing. One example I was using is that electricity itself is not even understood by science, right? We can measure voltage, we can manifest it with technology, but nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows why it works. And so you have to go back to the mystery school teachings that this emanation of source is a kind of force, and it fills things up and it flows through things, and it makes all of this active. It's the liveliness of the material plane and the unseen planes as well. And I don't have to understand it and to know that it's real, and to know that it's there, and to know that we're limited in our understanding. And it's fun too, because I've been in situations where I've gotten into ideological battles at home and abroad, here in China, with people who didn't believe in spirit, right? And in the kung fu world, I was taking a kendo class with a bunch of Japanese guys and young Chinese guys who like Japanese culture and Bushido and the art of the kill and stuff. And I was out, me and another guy, a guy that was Canadian and looked like a Sasquatch, like a really big hairy guy, and a really good fighter and quite fluid. And he never studied or trained Chinese kung fu, but he had the internal spirit of internal kung fu. Because Japanese styles are very externalized, using a lot of body mechanics and stuff to achieve force through like muscular movement and stuff. But Chinese internal arts are softer and subtler and use vibration and the rapid snapping of the energy, the electromagnetic energy along the meridian systems to blast energy forth. And poor representatives of really good Chinese fighting arts get into limited combat situations with MMA fighters and get their asses kicked. Because when it comes down to it, it's not the style, it's the man who trains it, right? 99% the practitioner and 1% the art. So I felt a sort of kinship with this Canadian guy. I forget his name now, but a big Sasquatch of an individual. And we were discussing it with these young Chinese guys that were very materialized, and grown up, raised on atheism. I'll tell this story real quick, even though it's a very spiritual one. And to get into all of the visceral details of what happened that fateful day would take a good solid 30 minutes to give it justice, to do the story justice. But I was doing some soft, gentle qigong, and the sensei came in and he said, "This is a Japanese studio. Don't do that Chinese horse shit here." And I was like, "Really? Wow." And I'm like, "This is China, bro, Beijing, and you guys don't own this studio." It was a Japanese hotel, though. And so the whole environment was highly charged. And he wanted to attack me. And I was like, "Okay, it's your guys', you're the sensei. I won't warm up in the way that I've been warming up for 30 years. And so after class, we were all hanging out by the McDonald's, and everyone was denying spirit except for me and this Canadian guy. Like the only two Caucasian guys there are the only ones that believe in spirit, or the unseen worlds and stuff. And so these kids are like, "Yeah, there's nothing to it, blah blah blah." And suddenly, Beijing has very violent sandstorms, and whole giant walls of sand will rise up and blast the city. Back then, anyway, they've seemed to gotten it more under control now by planting trees and stuff. But back then, we would literally have, during the windy seasons, I think spring and autumn, we would have thousands of tons of sand dumped on the city by winds coming out of the Gobi Desert and Mongolia and stuff, right? And they would actually have to, sweep it all up and truck it out of the city with dump trucks every year, right? But that we haven't seen that many in recent years. Anyway, so we're all standing out there in front of a McDonald's, and I'm talking about soft, gentle energy and chi, and using the three Dantians and magic energy and stuff. And they're like, it's horse shit. And one of the kids points over my shoulder and he's like, "Oh my God, look at that." And we all turn around and look back. And there's this giant wall of sand headed straight at us, right? Like we could see it coming from like miles away. It's darkening out the sun, and it's just like a solid wall of sand being blown at us, because it was a totally clear day before that. And I was swirling my energy and I said, "No spirit, eh?" And I turned around and I looked at them all and I said, "Watch this." And I went, woof, like Street Fighter style Haruken, right? And I just sent my subtle energy at the wall of sand. And right when I did that, a little zip of energy appeared in the middle of the sand wall, a little whirlwind, a little clear whirlwind of energy, right? And you could see the sand wall coming at us, and you could see the little like tornado forming in the middle of it. Right when I did this, in perfect synchronicity, and it sucked up all the sand in the entire wall. The wall like just stopped immediately, and this little twirling whirlwind sucked it all, spun it, threw it upward, and then it all dropped, bam, to the ground and rattled everywhere before it ever got to us. And it totally dissipated. The wind all stopped, and the entire sky became crystal clear. And now let me break this down for you real quick before I got to go into the office, because this is a powerful experience with chi and spirit. I had been gathering subtle energy for about a decade when this happened, and I think I pretty much released it all in that one little explosion to prove to a big group of kids that spirit was real. And I looked at the Canadian guy and he looked at me and he's like, "Yeah, that's fucking spirit right there." He knew that I did it, and I knew that I was connected with it. But I'm I'm careful in relaying these spiritual stories. I don't say that it was me that did it, or that I use a multi-model approach, right? Something intuitively told me that the performance would happen, and so I maybe I had a premonition that that was going to occur, and so I coincided my energetic expression and the conversation to show that, right? That's a possibility. This is called a multi-model approach. The number one mantra is that it's just coincidence. It was mere coincidence, right? Um, Another part of the multi-model expression is possible that what? So I came up with five different explanations for what had occurred that day, right? But yeah, and here's the thing. Later on, I was reading through Master Nee's books, and he said, when you're in the mystic moment and you do summon it, and it does happen, remember, this is confirmation from heaven that spirit is real. And it's the spirit acting through you, right? And it was the spirit that day that wanted those kids to see that. And so my gathering of subtle energy and deep faith and knowledge of spirit is what brought it about. And it was my chi that dispersed it. And at the same time, right, that's why I shy away from that, because great humility is important. And that type of thing is not meant for display really, because I've done other very, very similar miraculous was challenged. And so if Esoterica Justin Sledge wants to come out to Beijing and see what real magic looks like, then the situation would align itself for that to happen. But um, he's basically an egg-headed ivory tower coward that doesn't really want to see spirit, and that's why he denies it. And you get what you want, right? I've been looking for magic my entire life and practicing kung fu and studying the tenets of spiritual science among humans, and that's why I connect with it. I could tell you about early experiences in my early 20s with the Celestine Prophecy. You guys have probably read that book. And a lot of that stuff's legit, but some of it's fantasy too. But that was a legitimate experience. I mean, I wrote it down in my journals, and I've told the story several times, and it was fun. Spirit to manifest. And afterwards, my Canadian friend, the Sasquatch individual, he said, that kind of shit right there that you just did. He said, you probably should never do that in public. He's like, if anyone ever found out, because this place, they know, and they will murder mystics in order to pull their, the chi from them, their Garmin Bozia. And he said, you should probably never do that again. All right, openly. And I was like, yeah, I was like, that was dynamite, man. And we talked about it, and had conversations about it many times after that. And that yeah, yeah, good stuff, man. But it's those moments like that that keep you working, because it's not something that can be easily achieved by any individual, and you have to cultivate over a long period of time, and that highly spiritualized environment, and pulling them away from their deviation towards diehard scientific materialism and denial of spirit. It may not have shifted them. Maybe a couple of them that were already fence sitters and thinking, hey, maybe there's something to it, right? To a display of that type in a martial setting among kids that are already studying, antiquated martial arts forms and stuff like that, and kendo, bushido, and this type of thing, and learning to project their e, because it's the e, the Chinese word for intention. That's what gets it done. As modern magicians, we don't call upon necessarily the gods or any type of demonic forces or spirits to empower our magic. We use the e of the magician, which is your own personal will, and so that's what got it done. Anyway, I thought I'd share that guy with you. Stories, if you're fence sitters, and you're debating whether or not. But man, we've run out of time, and I'm really thankful that you guys tuned in this morning, and that I had time, that I was even able to. Oh wow! Oh, reel to reel discovered my interest because of an interest in Poke Runyon. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything I talk about, me and Poke Runyon are kindred spirits. And I've actually visited him in the astral. I visited him in reality too. But before even going to see him in 2019, I had several visitations with him in the astral sphere, like legitimate, face to face, master training student type experiences with Poke Runyon in dreamland and in meditation that later on proved to be 100% correct. And I journaled about them. I have scientific proof. I go about spirituality as a scientifically minded person. I provide proof for myself through my journaling and recording my practices, right? This is not something that I'm haphazardly endorsing. It's stuff that legitimately works. So yeah, Poke Runyon. I'll finish off today, guys, with a short prayer though, because I got to run. And now that I'm the team leader and like so-called foreign manager, I got to be on time and even early to work each day. So um, I feel extremely blessed that the VPN worked this morning and we were able to connect. These times are becoming few and far between these days and rarer as they block us here in Old Peking. So please keep my family in your prayers, and I'll keep all of you in my prayers. Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness, we adore thee and we invoke thee. Send your spiritual agents, the holy guardian angels that guide and protect us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and provide that great cleansing wind of chi energy to disperse all negativity and endless human opinion, which runs the real risk of miring the subtle truth even beyond recognition. To all my fratters and sorrows out there, brothers and sisters along the way, blessed be to you and a merry Samhain. If we don't connect again before Halloween, I hope that we can. But it's touch and go right now, guys, as far as these internets go and censorship and people being shut down. So I just hope and pray for another day of contact with everyone out in Happy Land and into the abodes of the futures, guys. As above, so below. Keep doing good magic. I'll see you on the next transmission. Bye for now.